So I'm actually really excited that we're starting here from Olszewski Gallery, a Polish gallery from Warsaw, for one real discovery, an artist that I have never heard about that has a very, very special history. So maybe we go and we start talking about the beautiful painting here on the wall, which is titled Pine Trees from 1933.
It's also a discovery for us. I did not know about the gallery, and I clearly did not know about the artist, which has an extraordinary story now that we've read about it.
Vladislav Koch.
Vladislav Koch, born in 1904, if I remember correctly, and died in the war. Second World War, yes, exactly. And in between wars, he did go to the academy and was part of the Warsaw School. Of course, I think that Alex can say that what attracted to him was the beauty of the painting, the colors, the way that it's expressed, but also in terms of modernism.
And there's something quite extraordinary, which is the biography of the artist. I mean, and the fact that the gallery represents the estate of the artist, but only 20 paintings are known to be part of this estate, because the vast majority of the paintings were destroyed by the Nazis, who raided the studio of the artist and used the paintings as covers for trenches during the Warsaw Uprising and the war. So this is really a unique, not only an extraordinary painting, but one of the very few paintings on canvas testimonies of the artist, which is quite extraordinary.
Listen, I would love to talk about everything that you guys are saying. To me, the painting is ridiculously beautiful. It's very violent to me, and I knew this before I even knew the history of the artist. Obviously, the tree trunks are veins. They're filled with blood. They're running dry. I know I'm getting a little bit dark, but look at it. And look at the smaller branches in the back. They're arteries. No? One thing that later, after I saw it for the first time, then I realized that there was the houses in the back, the fence, and there's an electricity pole in it, which I hadn't really noticed. And then that blue that I told you yesterday, to me that blue is completely unexpected, and it takes a while for your eye to see it because you're so focused. And then he chose to do this beautiful kind of sky blue, like in the corner of it. Anyway, I'm super excited to.
And it's a darkness once again that you. It's beautiful how you describe the work, because you're also an artist, and we're going to talk about it while we're walking. But so instinctively you react to something visually that you see, but it's a darkness that has a very specific historical connection. It's 1933. We know that Hitler is raising in his power in Germany. And the artist was a soldier himself. And so there is an understanding of the fact that most probably something dark is very close to happen. And so this kind of reflection of this red, which also in a way abstractly forms a Polish flag, which was a conversation I was having with the galleries. Like you have this red and white opposition, which is exactly the Polish flag. It might be, this kind of this violent element that is.
But I love the way that he brings light into the painting with these very sort of subtle moments of gesture, very small here as well. There's very little white, so to speak.
I would like to add that to me the most fascinating thing is that we didn't know the artist, and we have none of this information when we first saw it. This to me is one of the magical things about Artissima that I'm experiencing. I do so many different art fairs, and I can guarantee you this painting is here because of the way you choose your galleries, because of the opportunity that you give to different galleries that in other fairs you don't really get to see that.
And I agree with what Alex just said about the fair, which is that these galleries are they're very interspaced, so you actually see a lot of things that you may know right next to things that you may not know. In many fairs, those galleries are usually left to the peripheries. So you, unless you go there directly and with a purpose, you can very easily miss it. And that's one of the interesting things about the current plan that this fair has.
We love it. We love it.
Wonderful. So we started with the painting, and maybe we can introduce the fact that you're a painter yourself. So tell me then where your love for art started. When was that? Can you trace an encounter that made it happen?
It's an answer that I know very well. When I was very young, growing up in Mexico City, obviously I don't want to say how old I am, but it was way before internet and way before those things. And my parents used to collect art in the 80s, and my love for art began, believe it or not, from all the catalogs from auction houses that were mailed in bulks to Mexico City. and I would study them religiously. No, not religiously.
What age? Like
I was super young. I want to say maybe from 11, 10, 11, and then a little bit older, like in 13, 14. And then I knew everything about art through my parents and through those catalogs. And then I never doubted it. Like I always knew that. I always like to say that I only know how to speak one language, and that's the one. So I kind of went with it, and I never really. I mean, I studied something else, but I always knew that. I studied business, okay. and I graduated. It took a long time.
Well, I studied physics, so it's.
And you?
Law.
Law? Well, then it's three of us working in art,
exactly,
and none of us has studied art history.
Exactly,
this is quite interesting.
No,
you did study art history.
Afterwards, you did art history.
I did.
So we have a lawyer, a physicist, and I guess a businessman.
Yeah.
What brought you to art, Ana, and to become an advisor?
Wow, that's a very good question. To art, I think that growing up in Colombia, my parents were actually, there were very little things that happened in Bogota, but whenever something happened, we were always being taken to see whatever came. But I think that one of the moments that really changed my life was at one point in the planetarium, which was the museum at that time. They had outside one of the big penetrables by Jesus Rafael Soto, and I walked in and played in there. And I think that the opportunity of playing with those pieces was something that stayed in my mind. And then there was another moment when it came again, which is when I visited New York for the first time and went to the Metropolitan Museum and saw the abstract expressionist room. And there I fainted. And I said, oh my God.
You literally fainted?
I literally fainted. I said, oh my God, whatever I do in my life, it has to be related to being able to be close to something like this. And that's when I completely changed, from law to art and started studying it very deeply and then ended up going,
I've seen Ana get down on her knees in a museum only once. But do you remember when? It was a Barnett Newman.
For me, obviously, the second choice that you made is a gift, because I have a true love for arte povera.
And who doesn't for Calzolari?
Who doesn't for Calzolari? Pier Paolo Calzolari, an incredible work from 1986, which is untitled. And what drew you to this that at Repetto I think I can easily define as a small masterpiece.
Calzolari is one of those artists, because I also like arte povera, that we have looked at in many situations in different opportunities. And so when we saw this one, we almost fainted, because it is that artist that we've been looking at. There's an extraordinary sense of aesthetic in this painting.
Absolutely.
But then the depth of the color, the white and the ice, how it builds. I just find these works extraordinarily emotive and strong. And visually, I find it very powerful. And of course, another thing that we will learn about Alex and Alex's collection and Alex's style is that, he's very attracted also to certain colors, one of them being black.
Yeah. So I'm first I have to be super honest with you guys. I don't know nearly as close up about arte povera or this artist as you guys do. I know about him because of you, 100%. I mean, years and years and years of learning from you. I understand it, I like it, I love it. But when I saw it yesterday, there's a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I have this affinity for works of art that I call them living. Mm-hmm. And that's electric arts. I'm obsessed with things. I'm obsessed that it's a machine. So for me, it's alive, and it is alive. When you go close to it and you put your hand close to it, you can feel the cold coming from the ice that is being generated. No? So that to me is like a living thing, and it sounds exaggerated, but it's not. I really feel it like that.
Transformation was one of the essential reasons why Calzolari was deeply interested in the state of things of ice, because ice is not stable. It's this work every night. Once they turn off the refrigerator system, it melts and the water is collected into the lead
tray. And just quickly, another thing that I want to say, I have a fascination for. This is going to sound a little strange, but it's very true, and it will also reference in another piece that we're going to talk about, to outer space. And the color black, I love very much. And this black is so deep, and this salt.
It's salt, exactly.
It's salt with ink.
Well, the thing, it's a work, the work of Calzolari in general, but this work in particular is built on opposites. So the interest he had for ice was this research of the pure white that was impossible to reach through paint. So an opposition between black and white is also like this kind of, the two extremes.
Yeah, all the light and no light, but also the symbolism that both salt and water have had for alchemy.
But it's also opposition between the transformative nature of ice and the stillness and the heaviness of lead.
Yeah.
So it's a work that is built on a lot of different level of contrast. Spectacular. So I think it's interesting to discuss the fact that you went already 3 or 4 times to the idea that to the fact that you have worked together for a long time. Yeah. So maybe we should talk about how you two met and how you started trusting each other and becoming also not only collaborators but also friends.
So we became friends through mutual friends, but we became really good friends. We met 20 years ago, and we started working 5 years after that when I used to collect since I was 25, but I started collecting a little bit more seriously when I was 35. We complement each other in a really incredible way and incredibly fun, because her mind is completely different than mine. And even her taste, but we meet in the middle.
So we are at Rolando Anselmi, and this is Johannes Wald, a German artist based in Berlin. Also, I know, a surprise. So what is about this reflection that strikes you?
Also, for me, it was almost like when I saw it yesterday, it was almost so obvious how much this is 100% me and my personality. It was almost too much that I said, I think we should just move on. And then I was like, no, I can't move on, I can't. And then I was looking at which gallery is this, where is this? So the first thing is, like I said earlier with the other piece, is that I love black. And then I love reflective surfaces, and I love elements. And remember the comment I made about outer space?
Yeah.
I don't collect meteorites, but there are meteorites in the collection. This is stripping, it's not even an object, it's stripping a material into one of the simplest forms, which is almost a square, into one of the most beautiful objects. Obsidian is
because it's a piece of obsidian.
Yes, obsidian is to me is super Mexican. I grew up with a reference to obsidian everywhere we went, and slowly over the years, and we were talking about this, it disappeared. I don't know why. And then we were talking to the galleries, and they said you can't buy obsidian anymore in Italy. And then I said in Mexico also it kind of disappeared. You can find little pieces like pieces from the tips of daggers or whatever, and you're not even sure if it's obsidian or not. And then look at the block of obsidian. They sourced it from China. To me, it will always be a reference to Mexico, but it's sourced in China. It's chipped. And again, it's this outer space kind of thing. Look at the blackness of it.
And the work is a clear reference for the artist in the title of the work, which is Stade du Miroir, to the theory of Lacan, the moment in which a child first encounters his image and get self-conscious, basically. So, of course, he's transporting this into his own practice as a sculptor, and reflecting within his work where this brings you in terms of understanding your own practice as an artist, or maybe our own practice as collector or art lover, or who we are even deeper, no?
And going back to what my role is, it's like, okay, this is amazing, but who is this artist? So you can do like a very quick smart research, and what's interesting about it is when you call it Stade du Miroir, and going back to Lacan, is that the other part of his work that is not necessarily working with reflective surfaces and creating this reflective situation between the self and the self and the mirror, he is also working with his own body, and he's casting and working with pieces of his own body. So there's also this reference between the body and the self that brings us back to Alex's collection, in the sense that there's a lot of figuration and there's also a lot of abstraction. So that and a lot of reflection. So that sort of piece of information about the artist that I got quite quickly is like, it makes it even more important for it to be in the collection. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and what I love, for me, once again, the encounter I had with this work is the imperfection. You mentioned the fact that it's not obviously the artist made an intervention that could have decided to polish entirely the surface, make it squared, make it perfect. But this crack and the shape, it has a level of imperfection, and I imagine, or we can project ourselves into this, the fact that, our own image, our own reflection, our own self-awareness comes with an understanding also of our own imperfections.
There
Right?
you go. See, that's why he's Leonardo. I'm very, very happy that we chose this piece. I am obsessed with it. Also, a little bit of a reference to the thousands of pieces in the fair. And this is just, to me, incredibly beautiful in a sea of other things that are beautiful. But, I'm so happy not only to have chosen it, but to say that it's coming to my collection. And my first acquisition in Artissima. So, I will always remember it with this kind.
Fantastic.
I think it's really great. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, let's go then to the last encounter of our trip. And Ana, you live in New York. Your studio is based in New York, but you're from Bogota. Your roots are there, and you also have a space there.
We do.
So could you tell us a little bit more about Bodega?
Yes, Bodega Piloto is a warehouse space in the industrial part zone of Bogota. And the industrial zone of Bogota has a funny story because Le Corbusier, when he was no longer in favor in Europe, went to Latin America and did a lot of work in Latin America. And he was invited by the then mayor of Bogota to come to Colombia. And while being there, he was asked to help with the plan maestro, with the master plan for the city. And so he kind of very intelligently redrew the axis of the city through, using, of course, the pre-Columbian routes from north to south and east to west. And the last part of the city was where he also placed the industrial area. That was done in the 50s. So all that area is industrial buildings built in the 50s. We're in Colombia, so it's completely different to the industrial buildings that we may see here in Torino, that is also an industrial city, but it's a very beautiful brick warehouse. And so my partner, who is an architect, he was obsessed with this area and was trying to sort of make people understand that there's a history of architecture to be told through the industrial area. So when we met, we actually bought this warehouse together and decided, okay, let's save this part of the heritage by owning a building that is historical, but also by doing something with it that is art historical.
And so you do a program, you open twice a year.
We open twice a year, and we try to, the same way that we're trying to recuperate the importance of that area architecturally, we're also trying to bring out pieces of Colombian art history that were important at a particular given time, and that we're showing them so that they can be recontextualized within today's culture. And that's what we do twice a year, and you were there.
Fantastic. Amazing. Well, we just arrived at our last encounter, which is a surprise for everyone. And I think let's take a seat and spend a little bit of time with this wonder here that is standing here in front of us.
The Chimera.
So, Flaminia Veronesi, an artist based in Milan. We are at Richard Sultan. Okay. We're talking about Fantasio, the dragon.
Yeah,
okay.
So of course, again, we do a lot of fairs together, and there's a lot of people that sometimes interrupt us or talk to us and everything, and then all of a sudden Alex brings me in and says, like, look at that, and I'm looking at everything around me, and I kind of look all around. So no, look down
to Fantasio.
And clearly, after the walk that we just did, I was quite surprised that this was pink. Let's start with the pink.
Exactly, which is not a color that is very present at all in your collection.
Not at all. But then the clumsiness to an extent of the animal and the fact that it's between, a dragon, a camel, a sheep, it almost looks like Dr. Zeus, and of course the unicorn. And then you look at its face, and it has the most mischievous, whimsical, extraordinary face that anything can have. And it's about to jump alive and tell you something that is going to be very cute and funny. And I said, I think it's amazing.
And yesterday morning, I saw it, and I'm taking it home with me. I'm fascinated by it. I think it embodies everything that sometimes we should be in life, which is be a little fun, be a little different, really, get in touch with that side of you that is a little bit more whimsical and more, I don't want to say childhood, because I don't really like when people reference childhood. But look at him, and I said, I really want him to live with me. I think, and it doesn't make sense. It's a dragon with a unicorn, but it's clearly a camel. And then it has like these, I don't even know what they are, like waves or
Wings.
wings, maybe like dragon wings. Yeah. But also, I want to say something important about Flaminia, what she did to achieve, in my opinion, to achieve this glaze in ceramic is incredible. Like the different tones, to achieve it like that, I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I find it quite fascinating because I also didn't know the artist, came to the gallery to learn more before our meeting, and it's interesting that the words that the gallerist used to describe Flaminia's practice are very much the same way in which you describe the work. So the fact that she's really playing with this idea of irony, playfulness, fantasy, in order to create a moment of wonder in the encounter with art, which is exactly what happened to you. So I find it quite interesting that, in a way, the reaction that you had is precisely what she was trying to convey with the work. And so I think with these two opposites that we just experienced, Johannes Wald with an encounter with your own reflection in a very minimal piece, one that you describe it yourself, embodies perfectly, some characteristics that you look for in an artwork, the black, this encounter with reflective surfaces. Like it's sort of the perfect archetype of a work that you would like. This is exactly the opposite. Something that you would have never thought that you would like. So I think this in a way really closes a little bit our circle, like how art can be on the one hand a marvel that you don't expect, and at the same time another encounter being something that really
I want to say that
responds to you, no?
Yeah.
I want to say that with this guy, maybe I'm opening a door as an artist and as a collector, that maybe we don't have to take art that seriously. That there's a side of art that can also be fun and can be whimsical.
I think it's a freshness that also, at the end of the day, also reflects a little bit who you are. You're a very happy, you're a really happy, fun, easygoing person. So it doesn't necessarily have to sort of be so restrictive or formal. And I think that's very important as well.
Like he's going to live with me in the studio. This is not going to my home. I want to live with him. I want to see him every day.
So I think on the note of art being something that can marvel you and bring back that kind of fantasy and marvel for the world that should stay with you from childhood, to like more deeper reflections, I think we can close this beautiful walkie-talkie that we had together.
Thank you.
It was great to have you here.
Much.
Thank you so much.
Fun.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you.
It was great.